Welcome to Show Me the Proof, Get to the Point, the B2B marketing podcast where we show you the proof in the form of case studies and success stories. And we get straight to the point with your hosts and founders of Proofpoint Marketing, Mike and Gabby Grinberg.
Welcome back to Show Me the Proof, Get to the Point. We are so excited to have James Ricks with us today on the show. James is the Digital Marketing Manager at RTA. RTA is one of the leaders in providing fleet management software. And so we're excited to dig in to some of the success that you guys have seen today. If you're not following James on LinkedIn, you really should, because he's got some great content there. And his hashtag is Taking Ricks, which I love a good pun. So you get some bonus points in my book for that. James, welcome
Awesome.
to the show.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here and to chat with you guys today.
Wonderful. Well, the show is called Show Me the Proof, Get to the Point. And so in James, in the success story that we're going to talk about today, the proof is forthcoming in terms of some hard and fast numbers that James could share with us that we'll hopefully have him on at another time to get to those stats. But we have some really good and juicy qualitative data that James can share with us. So James, let's dig right in. Tell us what are you guys working on at RTA? What's this big juicy thing that you guys are doing?
Yeah, we are creating a category, and it feels so silly to just say those words, but unless you know the full impact of what that means, it's really kind of meaningless. But we're creating a category here at RTA, and it's exciting, it's terrifying, it's exhilarating. And we can unpack all of that. We can go into that as much as you want, but just a little background on us. So we've been in the fleet management space for 40 years. That was when this company was started, and the industry is ripe for change. There's a lot of stuff happening right now in our industry, and so our job as a vendor to this industry is to see that and to provide a solution. And with that comes a new category that we're creating and teaching people about. And so that's where it's really exciting, but then it's really scary because we're responsible for creating a conversation that's never happened, and we have to sustain that and grow that. And so that's what we're doing right now.
And another bonus point for you is the color of your wall is orange, which we have Proofpoint. Yeah, Proofpoint orange. So I just bonus points all around.
Awesome.
Before we go further, Gabby, real quick, you mentioned a couple of qualitative things. I mean, something that they're out there. I mean, you guys are starting out with the, just launching, if you will, with the category creation efforts. And, before we started to hit record, you kind of mentioned already the industry has taken notice, right? You're getting some recognition for what you're doing. And on top of that, you've got competitors starting to copy some of the things you're doing. And that's obviously the biggest form of flattery, right?
That's the goal, yeah.
It's seemingly working already.
Exactly. Yeah, we kind of, we're in a red ocean, or I guess I should say we were in a red ocean, and the goal of creating a category is to get out of that. But one side, we don't want to just be in the ocean by ourselves, right? We want the fish to come. So that competitors coming along, new products spitting up from competitors, or, people trying to imitate us or do what we're doing. That's, like you said, that's a sign of flattery, we love that because that means we're onto something. We're hitting a nerve that needs to be solved, and to lead the charge for that is a big honor for us.
I was on mute. So tell us, James, what is the category that you are creating? Can you share a little bit about let's break it down. Tell us first, how did this come about? Whose idea was it internally? How did it get brought up to management and to leadership? And sort of what did that path to, oh my God, we're building a category. How did that come about? And then also share with us a little bit about what this category is and why is it so important right now?
Okay. So our category is fleet success. And I'm going to pause that story, and we'll jump back a little bit and talk about how this kind of started, and then we'll pick that up and talk about why we chose that and how we got to that point. But so this was back in January of this year. So I started here at RTA in November. So I'd been here just a few months, and we had kind of a big shakeup in organization, in leadership, I guess that's what I'll call it. And as a result of that, we kind of went back to the drawing board and said, okay, what are we trying to do as a marketing team? I just deeply knew that trying to outbid our competitors on AdWords was not going to get us where we want to go. I'm going to turn my screen here. I don't know if you can see, obviously you can't see that, it's too small, but we have these 3 kind of graphics here that we've got. And this is our mission moonshot, right? We're trying to land on the moon by 2023. And that means that we want to hit a certain ARR. We want a certain amount of customers, retention, things like that. We have this huge, massive goal as a company that we're trying to get to. And I just deeply felt that because I'm running our ads and I'm generating leads for the company, I just knew that the strategy of trying to outbid our competitors in this industry specifically wasn't going to get us there. Not that it couldn't, for people listening to this or other industries, but for us, it wasn't going to happen. So something else was needed. And I remember I was driving down the road and I was like, kind of just putting all these thoughts together. I think I was driving to work. And, I'd read about category creation. I've actually created a category as well at a previous employer. And so I thought, this is what we need. Immediately downloaded the category creation book that the people at HubSpot and Gainsight wrote. And just, every chapter was like, yes, this is what we need. This is the problems that we're dealing with as a company. And then the book talks about how hard it is and how challenging it can be. So I said, we got to do this. And I presented it to a couple people. They hadn't heard of category creation before, that either weren't in marketing or, hadn't done that thing before. So brought it up to a few people and the feedback was, yes, we need this. This is amazing. Let's go for it. And so kind of just worked up the way until I presented it to the executive team and they were all for it. But I do want to say here real quick though, that they were already trying to think about how to solve this problem that we were dealing with an old industry, trying to outbid our competitors. We were already trying to figure out how to solve that problem. And so category creation was just, the right place at the right time for them. And so they bid on, and that it took off like crazy. They all read the book themselves. So we all as a team read this book on creating a category. And it started from there. So
we did hear from another one of our guests actually about this topic, about category design. His name is John Rushi. You may have heard of him. He's the VP of marketing at BombBomb. And they're also in they're also in the process of creating a new category. So if you're not following him, check him out. He's got some really great resources and thoughts around that. But kudos on you, number one, for bringing this up to your leadership team, which we know that sometimes marketing, especially, I don't know why that is, but marketing, we always have a hard time getting things approved from the executive team, right? Because we're always asking for more money. We're always asking for more resources. And for some reason, the executive team is just tired of hearing from marketing. Not always, and not in every company. Certainly, I'm joking here, but good on you for bringing this up to your leadership team and encouraging your leadership team to read about categories design, which I have to say is not something that, number one, a lot of people know about or understand really what it is. And number two, it's not an everyday sort of marketing initiative that a lot of marketers have the opportunity to even be a part of, let alone lead at the company. So this is really exciting. We're very excited for you at RTA. Tell us a little bit about, you kind of mentioned that there was already at the executive level discussions around challenges, sort of. It sounds like the challenges had been there for a while. The company was aware of them. Leadership was trying to already solve for them. Could you share with us what were some of those challenges that ultimately led you and the team down the path of category design?
Yeah, I think part of it is what I mentioned already, just realizing that the rising costs of like ads for our industry. So SaaS, specifically, but then fleet management is the previous category that we were part of. It just, the return was shrinking. The ability to generate leads at a scalable cost was going down. So there was that side of things, but then there was also like, and this is actually where I think the executives were mainly focusing was, Josh, the CEO of RTA, Josh and his wife acquired RTA from his dad in 2017, I believe. And so from that time, he was kind of taking his dad's company, who actually, just side note, previously bought the company from his dad. So Grandpa Ron sold it to his son, and then and Larry sold it to Josh. So anyway, so when Josh took over, there was just like this infusion of like, okay, let's figure out who are we. We've been around forever, but we've got to grow. Like Josh talks about how he had this choice to either just maintain the status quo or take it to the next level. And Josh is a big believer that if you keep doing what you've done, you'll never be able to get to where you want to go, because what got you to where you are today is what you've done, but you have to do something you've never done before. And that is the question that they were running into, is what is that thing? It can't just be that we're going to spend more money on ads or have a better looking website. It can't just be, dump everything into investing into the product. Although that's a good thing, there has to be something more. And so category creation was just a natural fit for that. And I think that's why they, as fun and exciting and nerve-wracking as it was to present that, they just ate it up. That's just the type of team that we have here, that we're always looking for improvements and optimizations and things like that. And this was just a natural solution to that problem.
That's amazing. That's awesome to have. Well, it's fascinating that that the company has been in the family for 40 years. Is that correct? For three generations of Turleys that started RTA, which is really exciting. And the fact that Josh and his wife, I understand, work together. They own the company together. So that we are, as a husband and wife team, we're interested in that kind of stuff. But that is actually a different podcast that we have called Mixing Business with Pleasure, where we interview couples in business. So Josh and Mrs. Turley, if you're listening, let's be in touch for that podcast. But we want to talk a little bit about the proof here. So I know it's still early days in terms of what you guys are doing, but tell us a little bit, kind of peel back the layers of the onion. So after you and the team internally have read the book, read these books on category design, what were some of the initial, action steps that you took to start getting this category design wheel in motion? Yeah.
Fantastic question. The very first thing, this was very important to me. There was a lot of things that came up once we said, okay, we're going to create a category. There's a lot of things that came up, but the most important one for me was that we rolled the category out to the entire company, and we made a big deal about it. We had a big meeting. We, both our in-house, people that were in person, and we brought people in on Zoom as well. So we had a couple of remote employees, and we made a day of it. We had several hour-long meeting, and we dove into. We had a big presentation, but we rolled out. This is why we're doing this. This is why we feel called to do this. This is why they need us, right? Our customers in the industry. And so the first proof, although it's not a number that I can measure, but the first proof has been an increased amount of excitement to be here at RTA, to work here, and people loving their jobs again. I mean, some employees have been here 20, 25 years. And it's been a long time since we've done something different, like this. And so for a lot of people, it's just a breath of fresh air. Hey, we're doing something new. It's exciting. And another benefit of that is some people have said, hey, you know what? And this is going to sound weird that this is a positive thing, but some people have said, hey, you know what? This isn't my jam anymore. And, I love being here, but this isn't maybe the direction that I wanted to go, or now I kind of want to switch my career, or whatever. And we see that as a positive. We want the right people here that can help us get to the goal that we want to get to. And so we want to attract those people. And then we want to help the other people that say, hey, you know what, this isn't for me. We want to help them get on to their next thing as well. So it's weird to say that that's a benefit of category creation, but this whole refreshed, just excitement is a buzz. I don't know what word you want to say, but this whole excitement about being here at RTA again has been a real big benefit of creating categories so far, in addition to the competitors that are doing some of the things that we're doing, podcasts that are being launched to talk about some of these same things. So that's a big one, I'd say. And that was the first thing that we did, was roll it out to the company, make sure that, because if our own employees don't own and love and just believe the category, no one else is going to do that either. So
right.
No, everybody needs to be on the same page and in lockstep, or whatnot. So it's like you said, I think nobody likes necessarily having people leave, but I think if it's for the right reasons and if it's done in the right way, then that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm curious, you mentioned having a big meeting and rolling it out to the whole company. It's not, category design is not something you can, force down people's throats, if you will, for lack of a better word, right? So what, other than the or maybe even give us maybe more details on what that, meeting or the set of meetings look like, but who were the stakeholders that were involved, and how do you get people's buy-in rather than forcing it on them?
That's a good question. And we talked about that. I think we knew that not everyone would, and that's part of the reason why we're so happy to get people on the team that are just fired up about this. But I think we knew that not everyone would, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but we knew that the ones that did latch onto it and really did take hold of it would really help us evangelize this new category. So I will say that we focused heavily in that meeting on discussing the importance of each team's involvement with creating our category. For example, category creation is often, it's company owned, right? It's a company objective, but it's often marketing owned or driven, because all the plays that we run, right? The ad campaigns, the new graphics, the new website, all these things that marketing typically owns. But we wanted to make sure that the company knew every single team, from the receptionist at the front desk to marketing to sales to IT and product and dev. We wanted everyone to know that you are responsible for the adoption and the creation of this category just as much as anyone else. So with that, we rolled out a challenge to every one of our employees to be active on LinkedIn. We know that we have a huge amount of potential for reach, right, and getting our category visible just through our employees talking about it. And so we asked them to not talk about RTA or talk about their job specifically, but just be active on LinkedIn and create content that compels people to come and check out what they do, why they love their job so much. And we knew that would ripple down to, our category being eventually, again, it's going to take a while, right? That we're creating this conversation that's never happened. We have to sustain and build that, but we know that that's the outcome that's going to happen from this. So that was one thing, but we focused heavily on the front line. So things like our sales team, our customer success team that answers, calls and talks to people every day. They're kind of the bastions or the gatekeepers is what I was going to say, but they're like the lighthouse of what our category means and how to live it. They're the guideposts. And so we focused a lot of attention on training them, even just to replace the words that we used to use with fleet success, our new category, and what that means, and to use that in conversations. And it's weird because we're a vendor, we're a software company trying to tell people that our software will help you be better at this and solve these problems, but there's a whole other world inside of, that's part of fleet success that no one's talking about, and we're going to do that. And we don't have a product to sell that does all these other things, right? We just solved this one problem over here. So that conversation was important that we nailed, so that our customers, our employees would be the first, right? The first adopters. And then immediately after that, we have to get our customers to be raving fans. And so that's been an important kind of play that we run as well here at the beginning.
I've got two questions for you. One's a follow-up and one's more of just diving in, I think. First one is, what about product, right? So, category design, yes, it's often marketing owned, but you also, you kind of said the company owns it, and it's more of a, overarching business strategy, right? So what are you guys doing? And I don't know if you can share this, but in terms of, is the product roadmap being affected by things that you're doing, things like that?
Yeah. In fact, when I first rolled out the idea of category creation to the executive team, I made not a spreadsheet, a PowerPoint. I'm just a nerd like that. I made a PowerPoint and I went through each team and I said, here is what, like, before we agreed to do this, before you tell me yes, here's what your department, could potentially be asked to do. So I told finance, hey, category creation is expensive, just so you know. I told product and dev, hey, this is going to potentially change or alter the direction that we take the product, right? Because if we're going to create this category, we need to latch onto that. So to answer your question, it is changing the direction of the product. And I think that's a really, really good thing. That's what we needed, right? That's what our industry needs. The problems that people are dealing with today are different than the ones back in 1979. And not that that's, not that we're that antiquated, but there's need for new products, new solutions. And so already that's another proof that's happened, is we've had a shift in development strategy for our product, and the new products they're going to be built. And that's the exciting part. We're really excited for that. Great question.
I want to talk a little bit about something you mentioned earlier, and I know it's going to take us down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I think that's okay. You mentioned that one of the sort of key initiatives in embracing category design throughout the organization was to really challenge your teammates, your colleagues, and up and down the organization to be more active on LinkedIn. Now, I know we could probably have an entire segment on that just alone, just on that and personal branding and being active on LinkedIn. And actually, I think we do have some guests coming on to talk about that specifically. But I'm curious, you did mention that the company has been around for a while, and that you have a lot of employees that have also been with the company for 20 plus years. LinkedIn has changed dramatically over the past 12 to 18, even 24 months, you could say. Things have really shifted in LinkedIn. So after making such a huge announcement to the company saying, hey, we're going to go after this new category, we're going to be the champions of this new category. And to do that and to get everybody's sort of rally cry, we want you to go on LinkedIn and start posting and start being active. I'd imagine that probably maybe raised a few eyebrows. That was challenging for a lot of people. I would also imagine that you, as a leader in marketing, got a lot of emails or Slack or whatever messaging platform that you use. A lot of questions from folks probably throughout the organization saying, James, I don't know how to do this LinkedIn thing, and I'm using a Southern accent. I don't know why, but I don't know why. But no offense to anyone in the South. But tell me, that must have been a challenge after you made that announcement, after you put that request out. So talk us through that a little bit. What were some of the pushback or concerns that you may have heard, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, let me think so I get a good answer. There was a lot of messages, and especially because we didn't just talk about just get active on LinkedIn. We talked about everything from how your LinkedIn profile is set up, and here's what your cover photo should look like, and here's what your headline should be. And we really wanted to stress, and this is where the questions started to come. We really wanted to stress that we're not asking you to go on and talk about RTA 24/7. In fact, that's the opposite of what we want. We building a personal brand is not something that every CEO wants all their employees to do, but that's how Josh is. And there's a lot of other leaders that are doing that, and we're honestly trying to do like they are. Like Gravy, for example, Casey Graham at Gravy. Impossible to be on LinkedIn without seeing he or his team and what they're using LinkedIn for. We want to do that. So a lot of the questions were, how do I talk about RTA, or how do I talk about my job, in a way that's interesting? And we were saying, hey, we don't want you to do that. We want you to talk about your life, what you're learning, your family, your personal brand, whatever that is. So we actually had a separate meeting. We like having meetings. We had a separate training where we talked about, the best practices for LinkedIn, and here's how to increase the reach on your posts, and here's the different types of content that you can post, things like that. And it's been really cool. One of our most active LinkedIn users now, and I don't know if he was before, but it's one of our developers, and he doesn't talk about RTA at all. He talks about lessons that he's learning. He talks about his family, his career in general, but again, not RTA. And it's so fun to see the insight and the lessons and the knowledge that other people have, and these nuggets of wisdom that other people have, that I'm really excited to see, the future impact of what that does. This is where we're a little bit selfish on the marketing side. I'm really curious to see what the impact of those things are. We're already seeing crazy, increases in profile views for our company page on LinkedIn. Our executive team, their pages are getting more views because of the content that they're putting out, more leads coming from LinkedIn. These are all good things. And so we knew that was going to be a byproduct, but a lot of the initial questions that we got were, how do I, what do you want me to say? I'm not a LinkedIn content creator. What do you want me to say? How do I do this? And so we talked a lot about that at the beginning, and It's been effective though. I mean,
Yeah.
Again, we knew that not everyone would, but that's okay. We just want the ones that latch onto that to.
I'd love to hear, how do you convince a CFO of, hey, we're going to write a book, we're going to launch a podcast? Because the general answer oftentimes is, great, how much revenue and how many leads is this going to drive for me?
Yeah, this is going to be really weird. I haven't been asked that question once.
That's awesome.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think I'm truly lucky to have the executive team, and especially Josh as the leader that I do, because he knows, just inherently, he knows the value of what that is. But here's how I sold it to the team. And I wish I could show you here, but I played a YouTube video, and let me know if you've seen this. I hope people that are listening to this have seen this, but there's a video of a guy at like a festival, a music festival, dancing on a hill, right? So he's on the side of a hill at like some music festival, and he's dancing by himself. He's in, I think it's his underwear, maybe a swimsuit, but it looks like underwear. No shirt, no pants. He's in his underwear. He's dancing on this hill completely alone. You can see people, sitting down on the hill around him, and you can hear the music very loud, just awesome song playing in the background. And as the video goes on, and I played this with him, and I said, this is us. We are this guy dancing in our underwear. And as the video goes on, one person comes up and starts dancing with him. And the guy that's originally dancing there shows him, like, he starts dancing in his own way. And the guy says, no, you do it this way. And he taught him how to wave his hands and shake his body. And so he taught him how to do the dance. And then a third person comes in, and then a fourth person brings two friends. And so now there's 7 people here dancing on this hill. And the video goes on and on and on and on until eventually you can't see grass on this hill. It's swarms of people running and just moshing in this big party, just dancing their heads off, like couldn't care less what they look like. And I think that is what sold it. We want to create that, but it starts with us doing some expensive things, some awkward things like posting on LinkedIn, with some things that we've never done before, like writing a book, putting ourselves out there in these different ways, knowing that the leads aren't going to come immediately. It's going to take, at least the leads from this, it's going to take some time. But I think that's what sold them, and they got the vibe. Honestly, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about that video, because it's powerful. And we're that guy dancing in our underwear for a long time with a new category. No one is with us. We're by ourselves. And then you just see that, the party go on, and that's what we want to create. That's what I'm so excited to come into work for every day.
For anybody curious, we'll put a link to that video in the show.
Yeah,
it's a great one. Talking about.
It's called Sasquatch Music Festival 2009. I found it.
Before we go any further, I want to maybe paint a bigger picture here in terms of what is this new category you're creating. So you went from fleet management, which we're actually very familiar with. We've done some work in the space, to fleet success. What does that mean, and what's the difference, and what is this conversation that's not being had that you're trying to start having?
Right.
Yeah. So this actually goes back to answer one thing that I didn't answer for you at the beginning, Gabby, was like, what is the category and how did we get there? We're copying or replicating, I guess is maybe a better word, the strategy that Gainsight did with the category that they created. So before Gainsight, customer success, which is their category, wasn't really a thing, at least not in the way that they have kind of formed category, around this idea of customer success. And our model for a long time has been, we help fleet succeed. That's been at least since 2017 when Josh took over. It might've been before that. So with that in mind, we knew that the success of our customers was, in the fleets that we help, was the most important thing for us. We have a monthly CAB, a client advisory board, and the constant theme in those meetings that we have is that the success of our clients and their clients, so right, the fleet and then the clients that fleet serves, that is the most important thing. And so success, is the category that we wanted to attach ourselves to, fleet success. And it's a lot more than just fleet management. It's a lot more than the software that you use to track your PMs or your oil or your rotating tires. It's a lot more than that. There's a lot more that goes into being a successful fleet than that. And so here's another play we did. As soon as we said, if this is our category, we sat down and we defined what the pillars of that category are. We have four. So we have stakeholder satisfaction, we have intentional culture, we have resource efficiency, and risk management. And those four pillars encompass the holistic approach that is fleet success. It's a lot more than just software. It's a lot more than just leadership development. But before, we couldn't really talk about leadership development in fleet because that wasn't in our fleets, in fleet management category. And Josh is so passionate about that. He wants to take all of these business lessons that he learned from people like Patrick Lencioni and Dave Ramsey and all these business leaders, and he wants to apply that and give that to the world of fleet. And that's what our new category is. So fleet success, that's our category. It's a lot more than just software. It's a lot more than just, parts on trucks. It's the people. It's really a focus on the people inside of fleet.
What are some of the marketing initiatives or business initiatives that are attached to fleet success that were not part of fleet management in the past? What are some of those things that you guys are currently working on? You kind of alluded to a few of them. I'm wondering if you can maybe share a little bit more about sort of the difference, the big steps that you had to make from going to fleet management to fleet success. What does that look like? What does that entail? And what are some of those things that you guys are working on?
That's a fantastic question. So we're writing a book, and that book is not going to be a manual for operating your fleet management software. In fact, that'll be a very small part of it, right? Because we're not pitching ourselves. We're not, as the creator of this category, it's not our job to use this as an opportunity to just sell us all, right? Right now, we want to create this category, and so it's a lot of education. So the book is one of them. We just launched a podcast, as Mike said. So that's another big content initiative that we're using to really get the message out that there's a lot more to this than just your software. But a big one for us, and this is true for anyone who creates a category, is a lot of times events or conferences are a big part of this. So HubSpot has their their inbound conference. There's immense amounts of value that come from events like those, where you can rally the troops and you can, from the horse's mouth, you can say, hey, this is what we do. And there's training that comes along with that. So we're doing that as well. We've had an annual user conference for years and years and years. And this year will be the first time that we're incorporating fleet success training and classes specifically around those other elements outside of software that we're inviting people to come and learn from and be trained on in those other areas as well. So you bring up a good point. Like, one of the problems that our industry has right now is that the experts in fleet management, the guys that have been working on trucks for 20 years, they're retiring. And so the new wave of fleet managers that are coming in have less of that perfunctory experience and actually using their hands and building the trucks. These people want tools, they want AI, they want data, to drive the decisions that they make. And so there's a lot more that goes on than just software to solve that problem. It has to be something else. And so that's really what some of the initiatives that we're focusing on. So just to recap the book, the podcast, our training and events, we've got an actual training certification that we're working on as well. So fleets can come to us as the creators of this category and be certified in fleet success. And that's a big project that's not ready yet, but that'll be coming. So we're actively looking for ways that we can focus on those other things. And those are some of the big plays that we're running right now. Some of those that are going to take more time as we get this started. So great question.
And I know it's still sort of early days in terms of building the category and rolling it out, and certainly it's been rolled out and it's been embraced by the team at RTA. It's not yet fully live. My understanding is it's not yet fully out there in the world just yet. But you did mention earlier that while you don't have, quantitative data because it's still in its infancy, you shared with us some really exciting qualitative metrics and qualitative changes that are happening as a result of sort of this early stage of fleet success. Can you share with us a little bit about what you're seeing based on these efforts so far?
Yeah, so it was, even things like just the breath of fresh air that it is to come here and be excited at work. We talked about that. We talked about like the increased focus that we have on hiring the right people. So the the getting rid of, not getting rid of, that sounds more negative than I want, but the happy relocation of those who, don't want to be a part of this rocket ship anymore. And the entry, the bringing on of those who do, that's a big one for us. The adoption of the podcast, like just today, I got an email saying that our new podcast, which is like 2 months old, is in the top 10 list of fleet management podcasts to listen to in 2021. I didn't think there was more than 10, so maybe it's a short list. I don't know. Things like that. We have seen a big spike in activity on LinkedIn, as I mentioned, again, in part because we've had our employees, promoting, not even promoting us, but just creating content that, again, comes back to us. And competitors, noticing that's what I get the happiest about is I want a competitor to see what we're doing and say, oh shoot, now we got to play catch up to the guys at RTA. Mm-hmm. And I look forward to the day where I see something that's like, no, fleet success is not the right thing, or this is what fleet success is missing, because that means that we're making an impact. It hasn't happened yet, but those things are starting to happen. Some big thought leaders in our industry starting to take notice, and through LinkedIn messages that we get, emails that we get, speaking opportunities, those, some of those things are already starting to happen. And then of course the leads, the conversion rate, all those things that we expect to come from this will happen as well, follow suit.
And just out of curiosity, how much of the category fleet success, how much of that has been shared externally? Is it on your website? Is it just through podcasts and through, word of mouth, or have you guys really started to push things in market?
Yeah, it's definitely been done in phases. Right after we, initially rolled things out, we did a complete rebrand. So we dropped the fleet management software from our name. So instead of RTA Fleet Management Software, we're now just RTA. And along with that, rolled out a completely new logo, new branding. So that was kind of the second wave. And with that, we launched a new video, just introducing our new logo and our new focus on what we do. But we haven't, we haven't started running new ads for it yet. We haven't got, the website completely rebuilt yet. That's in the works at the moment. So there's some of those things that are going to be happening in phases. That's one thing that I want people who listen to this to understand is that I can't say that it's a lot of work. There's a lot to do. And so if I'm the kind of person, I'm a perfectionist. And so if I waited until everything was done and everything was ready, it would be the year 2075 and we wouldn't even have trucks anymore. It'd be all like instant telekinesis or something. I don't know. So we have to start with something. And for us, that was getting a logo out, rolling it out to the employees, this podcast, this book now. So one thing you'll hear people talk about a lot when they create categories is having a lightning strike plan. And if you envision a lightning strike, it's a high energy, intense burst of quick action. And these things are all not to happen at once, because I'd explode as a marketer if I had to do that. But but spread them out. So we're kind of officially really everything's going to be done by conference this year in October. But between now and then, we're not going to wait. We're going to start. We've started the podcast. This book hopefully would be done that we can hand to people at conference by then. The new website by then. So things like that will start trickling in. You have to do that, otherwise, like myself, like I said, I just wait forever until it's perfect, and that'll never come. So,
well, as a recovering perfectionist myself, I understand your pain, and I understand sort of that struggle, right? Of man, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be, everything's got to be ready to go. And I think the biggest lesson that I've learned.
I'm always the guy going, nope, let's just
get it out there. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned as a marketer, and I really learned this when I became a business owner, is that the work is never done. There's never an end point in marketing. There's always more. There's always more iterations, more testing. And I think the faster you can sort of embrace that and say, okay, it's not perfect. It's good. It's great. It's not perfect, but it's awesome. We're going to get it out. And then we're going to continue to test and learn from there. I think that's a really valuable lesson.
If somebody wants to create a category, what are some things that you would say they have to do? Like, what are some tips and, I don't want to say tips and tricks. That sounds like, it's like this little thing that you do when it's a major project. But what are some things that they absolutely have to do? And maybe Also, what is it, some things that they need to watch out for?
Yeah, I mean, a little promotion here again for the category creation book, but read the book. And like you said, you guys will link it if people want to read that. I think it's just called Category Creation. And I know it was done by Gainsight. I'm forgetting the guy's name. Anyway, you can find the book, but read the book because that's what we did. And that gave us the full, like, the reason I say that is because I want you to really understand what the ramifications are, what the potential benefits are, but also what some of the potential downside is, and not even downside, but just what the risks are, like what is all involved with this, because it is not for everyone. Mm-hmm. And the book talks about that. It's okay if category creation is not for you for a number of different reasons. It's not just that you're scared to do something hard, but honestly, your industry might not need a new category created. It may be more beneficial to you to just run a competitor campaign, like a conquesting campaign where you're targeting your searches for your clients or whatever. So really the first one would be to do some soul searching and find out if it's right for you. Then if it is, I mean, I suppose I can only talk about what we've done. I can't talk about anything else. We sat down as an executive team and decided what that category would be. We had hundreds of ideas listed on a whiteboard where we talked about all the different things that it could be. Some of the ideas were bad, some of them were great. And then after that, like I said, we picked kind of what the pillars are. So I don't know if that's as tactical as you want to get, but that's what we did. And that's what we started with after we read that book, to kind of feel like we knew what we were doing. Everyone was bought in. Everyone said, yes, although this is scary and hard, this is, something that we want to do. That is the book. Yeah. Category Creation. And it's by Anthony Kanata. That's the author. Blanked on that for a minute there.
Yeah, we'll link to it in the show notes.
We'll definitely.
So I'm gonna lead the witness a bit, and
go for it.
One of the things that you always hear, and especially with a major undertaking like this, is talk to your customers. And I think you're talking about a lot of the meetings you had internally, but I'm curious to hear. And you mentioned the CAB, you got your client advisory board, you got your the user conference that you guys put on. So you have a lot of opportunities to consistently talk to customers. Talk to us a little bit more about how big of an impact was that, and how valuable was it to have access to that kind of access to customers that maybe a lot of people might not?
I think it was mission critical. I don't think we could have done it, or I don't think you should do it without that. Because category creation is about noticing a problem and then presenting the solution and the answer to that problem. And so for us, without doing that information, I'm not sure how someone could successfully create a category, if that's what you want to do, without validating that that's an issue, right, with the market or with the industry. And so in addition to that client advisory board, we also did an anonymous survey where we asked tons of different questions about their day-to-day life, even things outside of the perfunctory stuff in fleet management. Like one of my favorite things is we had 4 different pictures of different emotions. So we had a happy person, a sad person, a person that was like just frustrated, pinching their nose, head down. And we asked them, like, tell us what picture accurately describes how you feel most days. Mm-hmm. And it was the overwhelmed and the stressed. Oh, we also had one where, like, it was a person sitting at a desk and it had all these hands, like reaching in papers and a phone and a pen, things like that, just constantly overwhelmed and bombarded. And that's how they said they felt. So we dived into that and we said, okay, tell us more. What's going on? Why do you feel like you're not successful? And they gave us the issues with the industry. And so the category design is about putting a name to those issues and providing a solution for that. And so I'm not sure how you could do that, Mike, without some sort of a client advisory board or intense survey in listening to the customers. Otherwise, it's not creating a category. It's a marketing campaign where the company is pushing this out. And that's not how to do this. If that's what you want to do, that's not the way to do it. So does that answer your question? Does that, that's what we did.
It does. Like I said, I was leading the witness a bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit. So in this segment of the show where we want to get to the point, we want to provide our listeners with, actionable resources and tools on how they might do something like this internal, in their company or with their initiatives. You kind of talked to us a little bit about, again, the books that you use, bringing this up to leadership, getting the leadership buy-in, and then rolling it out to the company, making sure that everybody was on board. Those that weren't were sort of self-identified, and then they kind of exited the company or are in the process of exiting, and you guys are helping them in that regard, which I think is phenomenal, by the way. But category design, I think you said this, it's not for the faint of heart. It's not something you do today and you're done with it tomorrow. It's a long-term play. It's something you really need to lean into, and it affects every facet of the organization, top to bottom, bottom top, and everything in between.
Right.
So my question is, how are you sustaining this momentum internally? And how are you ensuring that it's not just marketing that has to be the linchpin in all of this? What are some of the ways in which you are, really, like I said, sustaining the momentum with your team and with your colleagues, and also spreading the responsibility? What are some of those tools and accountability tools that you use to ensure that the mission to the moon, as you said earlier, is still in play?
Yeah. Two things come to mind. The first one is a real simple thing. We use Trello to manage, the swim lanes of the different tasks that we have. We even just use the free version because it works. So we use that just to manage our lightning strikes and here's what needs to be done. Here's when it needs to be done by. Here's who's doing it. But I'll be honest, that's just the marketing team on that Trello board. So we're managing a lot of those things. We'll go reach out and get input and feedback and help with things from other people as it's needed. But the other one is we use, in fact, I don't even know what category of software to call this, but it's Lattice, and it's a tool that is built to track and manage OKRs. So we follow an OKR strategy where we've mapped from the company at the very, very top all the way down to the one-on-ones that the frontline are having with their managers. We've mapped the company's OKRs around this category, and there's more to it than just our category. But that's what came to mind, is because every employee from the bottom to the top has goals and objectives. I guess following that methodology, has objectives that are in support of the category. So, our customer success team, their retention and their CSAT scores and our NPS survey scores, things like that, those are all a factor that we want to measure and track and have people bought in for. And even if you feel like you're not on marketing, so category creation is not for me, that's helping us, right, to do that. So we have from the company top to bottom, we have these OKRs that we review in our one-on-ones. And then the executive team also has a weekly tactical meeting where they're talking about, what's going on. Here's what's next. Here's what's coming. I get to feed a lot of content into that meeting, so they can, so they know what we're doing and here's what's next and here's what's coming. But that's how we're staying on top of things and keeping that energy going at the moment. I think it's critical. This was also big for me, that it wasn't just me, that it was really coming from not just the executive team, but Josh specifically. And so to have a CEO that's latched onto it so much and that's really caught the vision has helped us a ton.
That's very exciting.
Here's another little tidbit. If you're not the CEO, get her or him in your corner, and it'll make category creation a lot better, a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it can be done without really the buy-in of the executive leadership. I mean, specifically the CEO or president or leader of the organization, because, as you mentioned earlier in the call, I mean, there's cost implications, there's time and bandwidth, it's changes to your product roadmap, changes to how you communicate about the company, how you talk about the company, everything from, even like you said, your front desk receptionist that's going to pick up the phone or that's going to field some initial questions, or your customer service team. So absolutely, I think that's number one. And you mentioned that it's sort of right out the bat is that if the CEO is not involved, then it's just going to fall flat. So absolutely. Before we go to the lightning round, I do have one question for you. And I think maybe I should have asked it in our Show Me the Proof section, but it didn't strike me, pun intended, until now.
Okay.
How do you, or let's say your team internally, how do you determine what lightning strikes get prioritized and when? I think that's a big question that I have, and I think others listening, because lightning can strike just about any time, right?
Right.
You could be in the car, in the bathroom, whatever, have a great idea, but how do you sort of score those ideas, and how do they get prioritized? At least, specifically for RTA, but then maybe some general feedback on the idea itself.
Yeah. That's a good question. And that's more where the question of how many leads is this going to generate? What revenue is this going to bring in? That's more, and how much does it cost? That's more where those questions come in. You asked at the beginning, Mike. Like, for example, a Super Bowl commercial is a lightning strike, right? And we could spend $250,000 on a 30-second, Super Bowl commercial, but is that the right thing for us? So a lightning strike, plan or I guess plan is the best word. Although they are big, high energy things, it doesn't mean that they're always the right thing for you. So writing a book might not be, one of those things. So, we looked at what the risk versus reward, the cost obviously as well, kind of a cost benefit analysis. Some things like the book, like we don't intend on the book being, at the top of any bestseller lists or at the terminal, next to the counter at the airport. We don't envision that, but it is going to lend a massive amount of credibility to us and to help us establish that category in the minds of the people who are really our niche that want to see that. So, cost benefit analysis, looking at the risk versus reward, the amount of lift that it's going to take in order to get that, looking at those things and the bandwidth that it's going to require. And we made a list of a lot of different options, and most of them got taken off, and that's okay. Or maybe we have a V2 of our lightning strike plan that we tackle later, but we wanted to get the big things done. And not even big things, by the way, like changing our logo. After we did that, well, we put up new decals, all around the company with our new category that we just created. Things like that, little, small, quick, but it's a lightning strike because it kind of gets us all moving in the right direction. So little things like that can be a part of that as well. But some things, there's metrics you can measure, like a new ad campaign. Okay, what are our costs going to be? What do we hope we get in terms of landing page views or content downloads or things like that? Other things are more ethereal. They're more immeasurable, like how they feel when they come into work, that kind of thing. But those are all things that we considered as we kind of, looked at the list of lightning strike ideas that we're going to do.
Makes sense. So really kind of looking at both the bottom line impact that a lightning strike could potentially have, as well as sort of the social, emotional, and maybe even say spiritual impact that it can have with your stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Exactly.
And a lightning, and I think you brought up something that was really valuable, is that a lightning strike could be something big, like a Super Bowl ad, or it could be something small or something, relatively small and inexpensive, but that could have a big impact. And I think that's a really valuable point, because I think for me, at least, I've never, like we talked about earlier, most marketers will never have the opportunity to be part of a category design initiative, simply because it's not just an everyday undertaking. It's a multi-year, probably $1 million investment that an organization has to undertake. So it's not every day that most marketers get this. But my idea of a lightning strike, at least prior to our conversation, was that it had to be the big, kahuna, the 8,000-pound gorilla, as they say. But really what you're saying, James, is it could be something as meaningful as a decal on a window that could just change people's perspective. So thank you for sharing.
Or posting on LinkedIn, like that's a very low lift that doesn't cost a lot. It's actually free, to post on LinkedIn and get our employees jazzed about doing that. Low lift, high reward. That's part of our lightning strike plan. So looking at those things kind of helps make that decision easier. But yeah.
Wonderful. Mike, any other follow-ups or questions on your end?
It's time for the lightning round.
Lightning round.
I love it.
All right, James, we're going to try to strike you with our questions.
Hey.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. What's the main KPI you use to evaluate marketing success?
Very interesting question. It just changed, actually. So I don't know if you mean me personally or the company, but I'd actually probably say the same. So right now it's and it's, I mean, long story short, it's opportunities. So like demos booked for sales. Part of that's because we just had kind of unification of sales and marketing, which is great under the one revenue generating kind of roof. But that's like our main, thing that we're looking at right now is opportunities booked for sales, demos booked.
Marketing source pipeline.
Yep.
Okay. What's a new marketing strategy or tactic that you're excited to try out this year?
Does the podcast count? I feel like it's new enough.
Yep.
I've never produced or created a podcast before, so we're only 4 episodes in, and it feels like I've, just getting a fire hose in the face. So, but it's exciting. It's exciting.
Are you guys producing it yourselves internally, or are you?
Yeah, myself.
Well, after the call, let's chat. We can talk podcasts all day
share
long.
Notes.
So we're happy. We're happy to share what we know. All right. What's a tool or platform you use at work that you couldn't live without?
HubSpot, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. You can answer this in one of 2 ways. What is your favorite or what is your least favorite business word or phrase?
I don't know how PC to be here with COVID stuff, but I got really tired of the word unprecedented or the phrase out of an abundance of caution. Got real tired of those.
Yeah, that's I sometimes edit content from our writers and the word unprecedented or the phrase unprecedented times. I'm like, please stop using this. Like, it's just we can't do that anymore.
Exactly. Anything that everyone else is saying, I don't like. I don't want to use that.
Out of an abundance of caution. I don't think I haven't seen that phrase used more than in the past 12 months of my life, right? I mean, how much caution is an abundance of caution, and how much caution can you have? Like caution, like how much? Oh my God, I totally hear you.
And marketers, we love using that. I don't know what it is. It's because it sounds fancy and formal, I guess. But come on, guys, we gotta
keep it simple and keep it right. Just keep it simple, keep it stupid. That's what right. My marketing professor would say. All right. What are some of the podcasts that you listen to frequently?
Patrick Lencioni's At the Table is a good one. That was shared with me by Josh. I listened to Jocko Willink's podcast. I listened to a little bit of Joe Rogan, in there, king of podcasts there. Dave Ramsey's podcast. Geez, that's good for a drive home. My our podcast. I'm wanting to hear myself and my voice. Yeah.
Awesome. What is a favorite business or marketing book of yours?
Good to Great by Jim Collins. That's a great one. Extreme Ownership, again, by Jocko Willink. That's another one. Those come to mind.
Mike, do you have a bonus question?
I've got a bonus one.
Okay, go ahead.
So you guys are you personally are in the Phoenix, Scottsdale, Mesa area. Tons of hiking over there. We love this. We love the area. What's your favorite hike?
Interesting. Yeah, I thought you were going to ask me a Phoenix Suns question, and I didn't want to talk about it after the game last night. So I'm glad. So my favorite, it's actually a really small hike, but I like it because I have 3 little girls and my oldest is 5. So I like this because they can do it. It's Silly Mountain out towards, have you heard of it?
No, we've not.
You'd be surprised. Okay. It's right off of anyway, if you go out towards Globe, you're not from Arizona, are you?
No,
we're not, but we actually visit quite often.
Okay.
We have a client down there.
We have a client in Arizona.
Pre-pandemic once a year. So.
And we love Arizona. It's on our list of potential places to live.
Gotcha. Yeah. So just East Valley, real small mountain. Yeah. It's maybe a 20-minute hike. but can do it with my girls, and so that's our favorite.
That's wonderful.
Good question.
Well, since you're a girl dad and Mike is also a girl dad, what is the most underrated thing about being a girl dad?
My hair braiding skills. I'd like to compete, honestly. If you know of a competition for dads that can braid hair, I think I can smoke everyone. So,
wow. I'm sure it exists.
Set that up. That's my
No, I'm serious. You want a French braid? You want a fish? What's it called? Fishtail braid? I don't know the names, but I can do it.
Me. I don't even know the names other than French braid. I've heard that one.
I cannot braid for my life, but I love braids and I love the way they look. So I think we're gonna need. Listen, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk to you about podcasts, and you're gonna teach us how to do braids, and it will be copacetic. Okay. Lastly, who is a B2B marketing expert that you admire on LinkedIn?
B2B. I mean, Dave Gerhardt. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He's kind of he's more copywriting, but I'm going to say him. His stuff is, or how about this? Justin Welsh.
Okay. Well, I think Dave Gerhardt, so I'm with you there.
I mean, both of them are awesome, but look, you can trust anything those guys say, and I look up to them a lot. Shay Rowbottom. Geez, I got a lot. They're coming to mind now. Shay Rowbottom on LinkedIn. Yeah. Wonderful.
Well, and you mentioned Casey Graham earlier, so we'll throw his name back in there. Awesome. Well, James, thank you so much for joining us today on Show Me the Proof, Get to the Point. We talked a lot about some of the proof in the making. We also talked about how others can think about implementing, getting to the point and thinking about implementing a category design undertaking in their business. So thank you so much for sharing your insights with us, and we look forward to having you on again where we can really dive into some of those proof points. What's the best way for our listeners to get in contact with you?
Definitely LinkedIn. In fact, I think that's the only platform I'm on these days. So LinkedIn, hit me up.
Awesome. And we will mention that hashtag again, hashtag taking Ricks, because I just love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm glad I'm glad you like it, because I've thought about changing it a bunch of times. In fact, I still might. We'll see. But for now, that's what it is. I
say wait until this episode come out and then see see what happens. You might get some followers. I don't know. I'm just saying. Well, James, thank you so much. We look forward to keeping up with you on LinkedIn, and hopefully having you back soon to share more about Fleet's success in category design.
Yeah, appreciate it, Mike and Gabby. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the Show Me the Proof, Get to the Point podcast. Join us weekly for new episodes and seriously smart B2B marketing success stories. We'll show you the proof and get to the point every time. Find additional resources on the Proofpoint website, www.proofpoint.marketing, including the full episode library with show notes, guides, templates, and more great resources. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe, and please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.